Okay, have you ever heard the story of Jordan Brown, who was an 11-year-old boy that was charged with murder as an adult for killing his stepmother?
No.
Okay, so this is one of the most tragic stories I've ever heard, and it's a huge mystery. It's a very viral story, but and people have been debating it for years. So this is what happened. Jordan's dad met this woman named Kenzie. Now, Kenzie had two girls, right, from a previous relationship, and Jordan's dad had him. Now, Jordan's mom wasn't in the picture. They get together. They have a beautiful family now, a beautiful home. It's a loving environment. Everybody's happy. They're blending together. It's perfect. Kenzie gets pregnant, right? Kenzie's pregnant. Again, it's a beautiful situation.
Okay.
Everybody's happy.
Blended family.
Blended family. This is the first, baby from the blended family. Everybody's happy. So fast forward, and one day, it's the regular day. Kids get ready to go to school. The youngest child was too young. I think she was 4 at the time. So it was Jordan who was 11, his stepsister that was 9. So they go get ready for school and they leave. Now fast forward, and the husband gets a visit from the police at work, and they're telling him that something happened to his wife. He finds out that she's been shot in the back of the head while in bed in her home, and now it's a double homicide, right?
Wait. Did you say double?
Double, because it's a baby.
Oh. Ooh.
Right? So it gets worse. So the kids get pulled out of school and they get interrogated, right? Because they want to see if they have any information, right?
Right.
Jordan gets pulled out of school. They put him in there, and he says that he sees a black truck parked by the house right before he left. Now, they had tree trimmers that came periodically, so he just thought it was the tree trimmers, right?
Right. Just a truck that you would normally see in the neighborhood.
Exactly. And the young girl says she didn't see that, but, she probably wasn't paying attention, whatever. They initially thought it was Chris, the primary suspect. He's the husband,
the spouse, boyfriend, always.
They're usually the first person to do it, but they checked the records. He really was at work during the time this happened. And they know about what time it happened because the youngest daughter found the mother. She walked outside when this happened and basically was standing in the front door crying, saying, "My mama got hurt." And the tree trimmers found her. They ended up finding the body and calling the police. Now, again, fast forward, everybody's back at home. They're crying, huge tragedy. He's trying to console the kids. They fall asleep. 3 o'clock in the morning, police knock on the door. They're like, "Hey, we have to, bring you out the house, talk to you." They come in and arrest Jordan.
That's the 11-year-old son.
That's the 11-year-old son. Now, the dad is confused. Like, what?
Like, what? Yeah.
Exactly. So the police say that they believe Jordan is the primary suspect. And this is the reason why. They bring Jordan in and they question him again. Jordan then says that he saw a guy, I guess in his story it changes a little bit, and he says that he thinks that he saw like a guy kind of ducking down when he left in that black truck. And the sister says that she heard a boom right before they left for school, right?
Ooh.
Now, she didn't say this in her original interview.
Right.
But this is what she says afterwards, right?
But she's a child, and
exactly.
Sometimes
now, she
details get fuzzy or they don't remember.
And who knows if that's even a real detail. Could have easily been, her imagination. Who knows? They also said that when they went to search the house, basically there was a lot of guns around because the dad was a gun lover, and that, when they went to go search the house, they found a child-sized shot that Jordan had just got for his birthday, right? The shot, they said, smelled like it had recently been fired, correct? They also go in, and when they had first came in, took all his clothing and lots of clothing, and they said they found gunpowder residue on his clothing. But the father was like, "No, my son is innocent."
Of course.
And he was like, "Well, we just had a turkey hunt last weekend or recently, and, that could be from his, when he had the clothes on." Right. So, that doesn't really mean anything. So the police don't care. They think Jordan's their guy, and no matter what the dad is saying. Now, the dad, that maybe it could be the wife's ex-boyfriend. Now, the reason why is because and strangely enough, the ex-boyfriend had a black truck. Now, Jordan would never know this. Jordan does not know this man exists. Jordan has never seen this man. He don't know nothing about this ex-boyfriend. So how would he know that the man had a black truck?
So it's not like, he's just
making this up. So the police would eventually go to investigate him. They would rule him out because they said, well, he couldn't have done it because when they saw his truck, it had snow on the roof. And if he had recently moved it, there wouldn't be snow on the roof.
So he basically had an alibi and circumstances.
And then they gave him a lie detector test and he was able to pass it. And they was like, he was really friendly and he worked,
cooperative.
Exactly. So they eventually ruled him out. But it doesn't matter. They're charging him and the dad is distraught. So this goes on for years. They start building the case against Jordan. They start trying to convict Jordan. And the whole time the dad actually ends up losing his job because he's going back and forth to the prison to visit him every day.
Wait, prison or did they put him in juvenile?
No, I'm sorry. He was in juvenile. juvenile.
Okay.
So he was in juvenile. So now, at this point, Jordan's older. They have the trial. Now, the judge actually makes them change it to a juvenile offender case, right? And they have the case. It plays out. Jury takes like 3 days, and it's over very fast, and they convict Jordan.
Wow. Based on what, though?
Based on the smell of gunpowder and, I guess, gunpowder on the clothes. That was pretty much it. There wasn't a lot to go on. Like, it was a very weak case.
Right, it doesn't sound like it's a lot to go on.
And so because of that, his legal team would not let it rest. They ended up taking it to the Supreme Court of that state and fighting it the whole way, where it was eventually overturned because the first thing that they were able to prove was, number one, the guy who said that he smelled gunpowder on the shot was not trained to detect that or to identify that. And they never tested Jordan's hands for gunpowder. So you never tested his hands, and you just got a guy who just said that Jordan did it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, any of us who have watched, what is it, CSI or anything, know that gunpowder residue on the hands is like telltale sign number one.
Yeah, you would probably want to check that. Also, they never searched the house for fingerprints of like any other person.
So what kind of investigation was this?
Not a very good one. And now the doors were, I guess, it was a nice neighborhood. They left the doors unlocked so someone could have easily came in and out. And also it would be, and then you got to think about how strange this would be. You would have to have a boy who would go downstairs to his, sleeping mother-in-law's room, take a shotgun, shoot her in the back of the head, at the front, the back, then go back upstairs, put the gun up, take the shells out, and then because it was done so close, it would have to be blowback. Like if you're that close with it, it's like a shot. It's gonna be stuff everywhere.
Right.
So he doesn't get covered at all, and then he's able to just go to school and walk away, and then there's nothing happening.
He's gotta be, if this is the case, he's gotta be a sociopath, and what would be the reasoning?
Well, they tried to say that maybe his motive was that he was jealous of the new child, and that sent him over the edge. But again, that's a huge leap to make based on nothing. And then they would find, one piece of evidence that they also had was that they found shells in the driveway that was kind of around the place where he would be out. And then I guess the sister said she saw him digging in his pocket around that time. But also, it's like he could have had his hands in his pocket for a million reasons. And also there was other shells around the house. Like they were a good family. So it wouldn't be crazy. And they had just like been using their gun recently. So it wouldn't be crazy for them to have found some of these spent shells some other places. But they never tested the shells. So it's like they never did anything. So Jordan eventually takes it to the Supreme Court and gets it overturned. And now has his freedom. But that was after fighting for years. He spent...
Right. So how old is Jordan now?
So now he's in his 20s, and he's actually suing them for how bad that case was and the time that he had to spend in jail. But yeah, this entire case is pretty insane.
So they never found another suspect?
They never found anything. They could never figure it out. They never figured out who the black truck belonged to. They never looked for fingerprints. It seems like someone saw this child size shot and smelled it, decided with no training that they had recently been fired, and then just that's it.
And that's it, they ran with it.
And then also he would have had to do it, walk upstairs, I'm guessing change clothes because it would be stuff on his clothes.
I mean,
and then take the shells out of the shop.
That's a lot for an 11-year-old. Well, let me not underestimate anybody because we all know.
No, that's a lot for
things have happened, but that is a lot.
At 11, you can't plan, like the father said. At 11, he couldn't plan his own birthday party. Do you think he could plan this well planned of an execution, get away with it heartlessly, and just go to school?
And then still be fighting it. That part right there. It'd be different if they let him out and then he just went away. But he's fighting this.
Well, now he is fighting to get reparations for the time that he spent in jail. But yeah, he was able to eventually get out, and it did take some years. And like I said, an overturning at the Supreme Court because they simply just ain't have the evidence.
That's insane.
It doesn't seem like they. And then again, they just took bulk clothes from his room. They didn't even test the clothes that he had on or his hands. So it'd be different if they found.
Police chief needs to.
Yeah, they didn't test the clothes that he had on, so they had nothing on him. Now this is even crazier. The ex-boyfriend for years had thought that one of the girls was his, right? And had just recently found out that she was not his biological child. So for years he had been thinking that this child was his, and then just recently found out when she gets in a relationship with a new dude.
So did Jordan really see this black truck?
I don't know. And that's what I'm saying.
Oh man.
Now, this was another big piece of the story that would come out much later. Now, the girl at the time who was 4, eventually when she turned 13, did an interview. So when she did this interview, she gave more details on that day. And she said it basically gave the the story about how she found her mom. So she said that she had heard a big boom and it woke her up, right? And that she went downstairs and she saw that her mom's phone was ringing. So she picked up the phone and the person on the phone asked to speak to her mom. So she went to take the phone to her and that's when she found the body. Now, she kept trying to nudge her mom awake and that's when she realized what happened.
Oh my God.
And she would eventually go, that's when she would go outside and, start crying and tree showers would find her. But this would happen around 9 a.m. At this time, if what she is saying is true, and of course, this, she could be remembering something wrong. It's been, at this point,
it's been some time.
Damn near 10 years. But she's saying at this time, if this is true, well, they would have already been at school when the actual murder happened. Jordan and the other sister.
Jordan couldn't have possibly done it then.
Exactly.
Is that what she's saying?
Exactly. Because he would have already been at school when she answered the phone and found the mom. You know what I'm saying? Because the boomers would woke her up.
Exactly. Oh, and she was 4 at the time, so she wouldn't have been going to school.
Exactly.
A boom work. Oh, I get it. And this child probably spent all this time in prison based on somebody's whim.
And to the police officers' credit.
Oh, they get credit?
Well, I think maybe one of the more perplexing things was there was no signs of forced entry, and the fact that it was done with a long gun that is not usually a gun that is used for something like this. Because you got to think about it. If the guy is in the truck, for you to grab, out of all the guns to grab a shot and walk up there, you can't hide it. It's harder to hide. You get what I'm saying? It's harder to hide. So you're walking in with a long gun into someone's home.
Not necessarily. Let's go back to Columbine. They had guns.
No, I mean, it can be.
It can be done.
But if you were going to do it, this is probably not the gun you would pick. It's loud, it's messy, it's big, it's harder to maneuver.
That makes it. Maybe he didn't know that the 4-year-old was at home still.
I mean, either way,
if that's what
you
happened.
know what I'm saying. Even if you use it if you use it in a small room, you're gonna blow out your own eardrums. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the worst gun you're going to use for this job.
Understood.
If you were going to plan this.
This is not an incognito.
Yeah.
Let me be quiet. Let me try to be sneaky and get away with something.
As it was.
Oh, okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's the only thing that they were saying. And also, even with the gun they were talking about, then someone would probably have had to clean it off, because if his clothes didn't have blowback, with a gun would have to have blowback.
That's a lot, yeah.
So I'm just saying, how would he do all of this before school? The guy.
So this brings us back to this 11-year-old was not some criminal mastermind.
Probably not.
Like you said, somebody decided he did it.
Exactly. And it's just scary how...
Because his gun smelled like it had been fired.
Exactly. And he was not trained to do none of that. His testimony was irrelevant because you don't have the training to decide if a gun has been fired. So your testimony on it shouldn't even be put in. And that was the key piece of evidence in the whole case.
That was the... Come on now.
Yes, smell.
Don't
yeah, the smell. And so,
wow.
But luckily, Jordan is now, I think he's graduated college and he's going back to get a degree in criminal justice. And like I said, he is now fighting to get reparations for the time he did spend and the terrible police work that was done on his case. And shout out to the father who stood by his son when the world tried to tell him that his son was guilty and fought for justice for him and supported him the whole way. And now the crazy part is that the family of the victim believed that it was Jordan. They allegedly believed that he was guilty and still to this day do, which is unfortunate, but I just don't know how you get that, out of this story. With the details we have.
With the details that we have that's very hard to conceive that an 11-year-old would have the forethought to do
plan
all
this
of
all
this.
out, and to make this happen.